Piaget's main contribution is his concept of self-development, which establishes the idea that learning depends on experience. He refers to a higher level of thinking and knowledge being obtained through new information, assimilated, accommodated, and adapted within 4 separate sequence stages. Utilizing a child's reconstruction of their experience, he describes children as learned scientists, whom have all the cognitive mechanisms to learn on their own. So formal operations are understood in later ages as self-reflection enables consciousness of one's own conscience. Therefore, a teacher provides a pathway and setting for students to conceptualize knowledge to knowledge gained within their own conscious mind. Secondly, there's Vygotsky. Vygotsky's the main contribution identifies a scaffolding structural influence where a child can copy and be given as much support as necessary. As a child develops, less support is needed and eventually the knowledge is gained. His theory refers to cultural patterning, whereby growth is found in interpretation. This theory is distinguished by what Vygotsky called the zone of proximal development. So zone 1 is based on the child's own capabilities. Zone 2 is what the potential the child has but requires assistance to reach. So a link here is made to the more knowledgeable other as an external cultural patterning source. It is within this cultural dialogue that Vygotsky distinguishes the vitality of language and human continuous engagement through language as an essential. So Kohlberg and Bandura's theory of child moral development both pinpoint progressional stages as a child's willingness to conform based on what they see and how it makes them feel. So both amplify the ability of a child to go from a young age of egocentrism to reasoning. So firstly, Kohlberg's theory is designed in 6 stages within 3 levels. Level 1 is the pre-conventional age, where morals are based on obedience and fear. Additionally, they are driven by egocentrism, self-interest, and willingness to persuade others to agree. Level 2 is the conventional age. There is a shift towards acceptance of the other, whether that be a person or society. Still seeking approval, though, the morals are built on conforming to the majority with a sense of self in trust and duty and loyalty. Level 3 is a post-conventional age, placing their morals in ethics, rights, and fairness. So their decisions are being made on reason and logic and inclusion. According to Walsh, though, Kohlberg refers to children as generating their own judgment and becoming moral agents on their own through social relationships. Secondly, there's Bandura's theory. So he is also age-based, sequenced. Egocentrism is found in younger ages because the child has not had that valuable interaction with the external source. Therefore, the child does not consider the other. Bandura states that a child's behavior is learnt through modeling. That comes from observing, imitating, and finding themselves within that experience. So by witnessing and feeling what is happening around them, the child can make a moral judgment based on their own feelings of that set experience. While a young child uses an emotional response, an older child is capable of internalizing those emotions and acting based on logic and reasoning, making the child capable of responding to a situation as a self-efficient social agent. This clearly explains that child's morality is based on social context, linking to the social inclusion and conformism of morality itself. It is important for a teacher to understand and apply cognitive and moral development to their teaching practices because the teaching learning experience that is given by teachers enables and encourages and enhances the child's self. Part of the role of a teacher is to provide a pathway for higher level of thinking and understanding. In order to do so, there needs to be an established awareness of how a child learns and develops a thought process through different stages of life. Once there is an acceptance of those variations, a teacher can then apply the method and based on an appropriate age development. If the child is given information that is beyond their level, it provides to be countereffective. Therefore, it is important to understand that a 6-year-old learns and grasps simpler concepts than a 12-year-old, and teaching a lesson for a 12-year-old to a 6-year-old would lead to frustration and nothing learned. So it is a teacher's responsibility to endure self-discovery and intellectual thought through cultural and social tools. Now for some application examples. Firstly, we've got cognitive development. In a kindergarten classroom, a student is being taught the topic of living things. While a child of 5 and 6 years old already understands that animals are alive, the teacher then introduces what it means to be alive. in terms of needs of food and water. So the students can then assimilate, accommodate, and adapt that new information. So the student now comprehends that living things are all the same in the needs for survival. The student now is capable of advancing to a higher level of thinking and in more detail. So about what types of animals need what types of food. So the knowledge gain has enabled the student to provide a more micro level of understanding to the topic of living things. And finally, there's moral development. In a kindergarten classroom, a teacher sets out a task of colouring in with the instructions of sharing the crayons. One student decides to take all the crayons, so egocentric without consideration for the others. A class discussion on the issue enables students to identify why they share. So everybody else shares because they were told to, so obedience. They did not want to get into trouble, so that's fear. The class discussion socialise the issues, where the peer review produces the learning through classmates modelling morality,